Foxconn leaves. Despair just beginning for people of Hunan. Chinese live worse than 4 years ago, livelihood issues resonate. Mainland banks further cut salaries, some managers earn less than $140 monthly. Analysis: global gold price surge is made in China. TikTok reportedly plans mass layoffs amid sanctions. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Foxconn leaves. Despair just beginning for people of Hunan. In recent years, there's been a lot of talk about Foxconn moving production out of China, and Hunan, a major player in foreign trade, is really feeling it. During the 3-year pandemic, China, known as the world's factory, enforced stringent lockdown measures. This, combined with geopolitical uncertainties, prompted a reconfiguration of global supply chains and accelerated the withdrawal of foreign investments from China. Foxconn, a heavyweight in China's export sector, is often viewed as an indicator of the country's foreign trade health. Recently, there are signs that Foxconn Zhengzhou is shifting production capacity elsewhere, and Hunan's despair may just be beginning. The Glacier think tank, a Chinese media platform established by seasoned journalists like Chen Jiabing and Lian Qingchuan, recently published an article titled Hunan's Foxconn, Things Are Changing. The piece reveals that Foxconn's partial relocation has had significant effects, highlighting a drastic underestimation of the influence of such major corporations and the resultant chain reactions. The article discusses how Apple's expansion in India has unexpectedly impacted Zhengzhou and Hunan, located thousands of miles away. Recent customs data indicate a sharp decline in smartphone exports from Hunan, with exports falling by 14.5% last year and continuing to drop this year. The first quarter alone saw a dramatic reduction from 16.88 million units to just 6.64 million, with export values decreasing significantly from 71.1 billion yuan, about $10 billion to 27.2 billion yuan, about $3.8 billion. This suggests that Foxconn, a longtime leader in global smartphone manufacturing, is scaling back its operations in Hunan. The article highlights the interconnected nature of the global trade system, warning that Foxconn's potential withdrawal is not an isolated incident. Using the metaphor of the butterfly effect, the authors warn that seemingly minor events, like a butterfly flapping its wings in South America, can have far-reaching consequences, such as a tornado in Texas. They argue that if Foxconn leaves, it could trigger a cascade of departures from other companies, potentially devastating Hunan's economy. The narrative surrounding Foxconn is mixed. The article reports that some critics view Foxconn as a low-end, low-margin manufacturer that exploits its workers and exists solely to enrich Apple. They criticize that such companies shouldn't be in China, and some even go so far as to challenge whether the people of Hunan truly need Foxconn to survive. However, while it's easy to criticize Foxconn, a closer look at the numbers reveals the company's significant impact on Hunan's economy. Last year, in the Zhengzhou-Xinjiang Comprehensive Bonded Zone where Foxconn is located, the export-import values reached a staggering 407.3 billion yuan, about $57.3 billion, accounting for a whopping 74% of Zhengzhou's imports and exports, and over half of the entire province's total. The article also highlights the irony of keyboard warriors who loudly demand that companies like Foxconn get out of China, noting that they fail to recognize the crucial role these companies play in supporting local livelihoods. This underscores a widespread underestimation of the economic impact of major corporations like Foxconn. While Huawei has overtaken Apple in the Chinese smartphone market, the article argues that simply replacing foreign brands with domestic ones won't solve the larger economic issues. It's not a simple swap, it's more like a risky major surgery that could have serious consequences for the economy. The article points out that while Foxconn's Indian factory benefits from lower labor costs, it struggles to replicate the established supply chain and lacks skilled workers, which could affect iPhone quality. Given that relocating is clearly painful for Foxconn, the question remains, why are they so determined to leave? The answer to this question could have significant implications for future social expectations and economic trends. The article argues that while shifting towards new energy vehicles is a step in the right direction for regional economic development, it's not a silver bullet. It's unrealistic to expect this industry to single-handedly replace the economic impact of both real estate and consumer electronics like smartphones. Furthermore, the article challenges the demonization of contract manufacturing, pointing out that it brings significant benefits to China, including job creation and the transfer of technology and innovation. These benefits cannot be easily replicated by domestic alternatives in the short term. The article warns that the situation is getting more complicated due to the risk of tech bottlenecks, the pain of shifting to new industries, and the uncertainty of what's to come. It concludes that as China tries to break free from its reliance on Foxconn, it needs to be ready for the potential fallout of that decision. Chinese live worse than 4 years ago, livelihood issues resonate. In the United States, politicians fear hearing from voters that they are worse off than 4 years ago. This concern resonates just as deeply in China, where many feel they are living in a markedly different world compared to just a few years earlier. Over the past 4 years, China has faced numerous challenges: a real estate market collapse, the US-China trade war, severe crackdowns on private entrepreneurs, and 3 years of stringent COVID-19 lockdowns, all of which have stifled economic growth. Expressions of frustration are common on social platforms like Weibo, where one user lamented, "Just started paying off my mortgage, and now they're cutting my salary, life's tough." Another post that resonated with many lamented the combination of low wages, a stagnant market, job losses, and rising prices. Data from Zhaopin, a major job platform, shows that nearly a third of white-collar workers in China saw their salaries shrink in 2023, with industries from real estate to tech and finance all feeling the pinch of government crackdowns. Business surveys reveal a shift in focus from hiring to layoffs among factories and offices. Even official figures from the People's Bank of China reflect a general pessimism about future income prospects. Bloomberg shared the story of Mr. Hu from Shanghai, who left his hometown nearly a decade ago, bought a house in 2020, and invested in a car to work as a rideshare driver on weekends, supplementing his family's income. Initially filled with hope, 4 years later, he finds himself in despair as home prices have plummeted nearly 25%, and his rideshare earnings have drastically fallen. In his conversations with passengers, Mr. Hu discovered that many share his struggles, battling through tough times and criticizing the incompetence of the authorities. While Beijing has hinted at rolling out more stimulus measures and announced a major policy meeting in July, these actions are unlikely to move the needle on the bigger issues plaguing China. The country is grappling with fundamental problems like a shrinking workforce, massive debt, and overproduction, challenges that are not unique to China and have proven difficult to solve worldwide. Who isn't feeling the pressure? Throughout China, from high earners to low-wage workers, everyone's wallets are tightening. Mr. Huang, a businessman in Guangdong who trades and export power supply equipment, recalls the pre-pandemic years as the good old days. Back then, he purchased a Tesla Model X and acquired an apartment in Shenzhen's Nanshan district. But today, he describes his business conditions as the worst he's ever seen. Weak sales and uncertainty about the future have made manufacturers hesitant to sign long-term contracts. His own company has been forced to lay off 5 workers. With a touch of humor, he admits he's now a freeloader, joking that he's living off his wife's income. For local businesses, 2023 has been even more challenging than the pandemic's early years. Mr. Huang is also aware of many in his community who are caught in debt, burdened with hefty mortgages, and some have even had their homes foreclosed. Since Xi Jinping commenced his 3rd term as the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, the government has ramped up its surveillance and efforts to maintain social stability. Research from Comparitech reports that Chinese cities rank as the most surveilled globally, with an average of 1 CCTV camera for every 2 people. According to Minxin Pei from Claremont McKenna College, up to 12.7 million Chinese citizens are routinely monitored by CCP police. The American human rights organization Freedom House has observed an increase in protests linked to economic issues, particularly following the real estate sector's collapse. In 2023 alone, researchers documented 2,891 incidents of public dissent, with about 80% related to economic concerns. There has been a surge in online videos featuring protests about incomplete construction projects and unfinished apartment buildings. Anthony Sach, a Harvard University professor who studies Chinese government and has been visiting China regularly since 1976, observed, "I have never seen the Chinese middle class as deeply frustrated and upset as they are now." What's even more alarming is that the intense pressure and competition in Chinese society are now affecting the younger generation. On May 18, Peng Zugui, a psychiatrist at a prominent hospital in Chengdu, shared a shocking statistic on social media. In one middle school class, 18 out of 54 students were struggling with depression, with 5 cases being severe. He described the cutthroat environment in this key class, where students are constantly compared to each other and even a minor slip-up can lead to being ostracized and falling behind. This relentless pressure can easily trigger a downward spiral, causing students' mental health to deteriorate. The post quickly went viral, prompting the doctor to delete it shortly after. Mainland banks further cut salaries. Some managers earn less than $140 monthly. China's financial sector, once dubbed the Iron Rice Bowl due to its reputation for stable and high incomes, is experiencing a severe wage downturn. A notable example reported by the paper highlighted a regional bank customer manager whose salary plunged from over 10,000 yuan, $1,400, per month to less than 1,000 yuan, $140. Similarly, financial data from Wind indicates that 14 out of 42 publicly listed banks in China saw average salaries drop in 2023, with the most substantial decrease being 13.95%. Social media buzzed with the topic bank salary cuts, attracting nearly 1 million views. Users shared stories of pay being slashed in half after several rounds of cuts. The chairman of Zhengzhou Bank announced a plan to cut executive salaries by 10% annually for the next 2 years, reallocating resources to frontline staff. Wang Bin, a branch manager at a major state-owned bank, noted that salary pools are set by upper management based on branch performance. With the economy slowing, many account managers struggle to meet targets, resulting in reduced performance and lower salaries. She estimated a drop of 40,000 to 50,000 yuan, about $5,600 to $7,000, in annual salaries for branch account managers. In line with this, Luo Dan, employed in the back office of another state-owned bank, confirmed that salary cuts are widespread, affecting most employees. Both she and Wang noted cuts to additional benefits like meal allowances. Faced with these salary cuts, some bank employees are choosing to leave, particularly younger workers who feel the pressure and long hours aren't worth the diminishing rewards. However, many, like Wang Bin and Luo Dan, are staying put, citing the job security and benefits as reasons to remain in the industry, despite the financial strain. Analysis: Global gold price surge is made in China. On Monday, May 20th, the global gold price reached a record high. This surge, which some analysts called made in China, was primarily driven by robust demand from Chinese consumers. This surge reflects a growing enthusiasm for gold in China, where it traded higher than anywhere else in the world during the Chinese New Year. Subsequently, gold prices in London have increased by over 10%, frequently setting new records. Jörg Keener of Swiss Asia Capital predicted that gold prices might hit around $2,600 per ounce within a year. Despite this upward trend, gold ETFs experienced a net outflow of over 113 tons in the first quarter of the year, continuing a pattern of outflows for the 8th consecutive quarter. Contrarily, trading volumes on the Shanghai Gold Exchange nearly doubled in April, underscoring the strong domestic demand in China. The Financial Times attributed the international price rise to Chinese buyers, who are increasingly using gold as a hedge against inflation and the yuan's depreciation, down about 2% against the dollar this year. The People's Bank of China added 225 tons to its gold reserves in 2022, the most significant annual increase since at least 1977, signaling strong institutional buying that may influence other investors. Economic challenges and real estate troubles in China have led more investors to turn to gold, a trend that the World Gold Council expects to continue through 2023 and 2024. Analysts foresee further price increases as global economic and geopolitical uncertainties mount, potentially exacerbated by prospective U.S. Federal Reserve rate cuts that could weaken the dollar and make gold more affordable for international buyers, further boosting demand. TikTok reportedly plans mass layoffs amid sanctions. TikTok, the popular short video app owned by Beijing-based ByteDance, is reportedly planning layoffs this week, with its global user operations team being completely dissolved. According to the information, an U.S. tech news site, the layoffs will hit TikTok's operations, content, and marketing departments, with employees being notified as early as Wednesday evening or Thursday morning. The exact number of layoffs is still unclear, but sources say that nearly 1,000 employees could be impacted by the disbanding of the user operations team, which handles tasks like community management and content moderation. This isn't the first time TikTok has laid off employees this year, but the company has typically avoided the large-scale cuts seen at other tech firms. TikTok has yet to comment on the reports. These layoffs come amid heightened scrutiny of TikTok in the U.S. due to concerns that the CCP could exploit the platform to harvest data from American users, posing a national security risk. On April 23 of this year, the U.S. Senate passed legislation requiring ByteDance to sell TikTok by January 19 of the following year or face a ban on its operations. The very next day, President Biden signed this bill into law, which started a 270-day countdown. On May 7, ByteDance and TikTok fought back against the ban if not sold law by suing the U.S. government. They argue that this law is unfair and violates their right to free speech. They want the court to rule the law unconstitutional and stop it from being enforced. This case highlights the clash between freedom of speech and national security concerns, and experts believe it will be a long legal battle. TikTok faces hiring challenges amid U.S. sanctions. In the ongoing siege against TikTok, everyone from job candidates and headhunters to platform merchants and users finds themselves caught in the crossfire. TikTok is still aggressively recruiting talent from mainland China to relocate to Singapore, even though costs have risen, a headhunter revealed to the Daily Economic News. However, despite some layoffs, filling positions at TikTok's Singapore headquarters has always been tough, and the looming ban if not sold law has made potential employees even more hesitant. On the Chinese platform MaiMai, job candidates with TikTok offers are hesitant due to uncertainties surrounding potential layoffs if TikTok is sold or banned in the US, and the difficulty of returning to China without permanent residency. One example is Mr. Yan, an algorithm engineer who has been offered a job in Singapore with a significant salary increase but remains undecided due to these concerns. An industry insider explained that relocating staff to Singapore is essential for TikTok, which seeks to transform itself into a purely foreign enterprise, distinct from its origins as part of ByteDance. Before the 270-day countdown began, TikTok had already started relocating staff and migrating data. In May this year, a ByteDance employee who transferred to TikTok disclosed that from April onwards, employees transitioning to TikTok had gradually been switching to different corporate entities to maintain access to back-end information of TikTok and related apps. Statista data shows that as of April 2024, TikTok has 1.582 billion monthly active users worldwide, with the US being home to the largest number of users at 150 million. In mainland China, TikTok operates under the name Douyin, a similar short video social application also developed by ByteDance. Before U.S. senators introduced the ban if not sold legislation, India's Madras High Court had already demanded TikTok be removed from app stores in April 2020, due to concerns over exposing children to pornographic content and cyberbullying. Subsequently, a week after the enactment of the CCP-led Hong Kong national security law in July of the same year, ByteDance announced TikTok's formal withdrawal from the Hong Kong market through a statement in English. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.